Yeah, today you are lucky. You have the entire globe in your apartment, in your room. You don't have to do any kind of calculation or mathematics or anything to figure out how things went wrong in the 1600s. From the North Pole, you come here for that is Great Britain, and you can either figure out with your finger where is Plymouth, where Captain Cook started, almost in this area. That is Plymouth right here. You can see it without a magnifier. If you have a magnifier, Plymouth is right here. Spain under, that is France, that is Spain, and those are the bad guys, Italy, the guys that changes the history, and that's it. From here, you can figure out where did Captain Cook go. You want to hear latitude 45 Britain is 45 to 60 north, almost in the middle, say 50. So he got here, went down to Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro is right here. That is Rio de Janeiro. That is something like 10,000 kilometers. Then you have to go down to the Magellan Strait. That's the first trip. Before he did the second trip, the first trip where he have to go to Tahiti. From here, still under north to 40, latitude 40. He did not went below 40 until the second trip. From here, if you look from a distance, using a straight line and trigonometry is going to help you a lot because you have circular or spherical trigonometry. So you have to use a lot of sine and cosine and have college education to figure out what he did. But everybody, it was like try and error. So he was able to get from here to New Zealand. He wanted to go to Tahiti to find the eclipse of Venus and the moon. Tahiti is somewhere here, in this area. We figure out Tahiti in a minute. After he got done with that trip, trying to go back to, well, he cannot go back to where he come from because it's too long, it is too complicated, and he wanted to discover more. He got stuck in the ridge, in the coastal ridge. So to get over these islands between New Zealand, well, he was able to do the survey on New Zealand to prove that it is two islands. Then when he got to Australia, where he have all the problems, the people don't like him, they are not civilized. He did not land in Australia, but he claimed that eastern side of Australia as the New Wales, and it become owned by Britain. That side, the eastern side of Australia. Then he got in trouble when he tried to go from New Guinea. All that depend on his ability to determine the longitude and latitude. At that time, he already have the chronometer. When he got to Indonesia, at the equator, that is when he lost 25 of his people to the malaria. He was able to overcome the scurvy that used to kill a lot of people in those ages because they did not know any thing about vitamin C, or they did not even know the cause. But they have a hunch that if he eat fresh food, fresh vegetables, he was able to survive the scurvy. Then he got hit by the malaria and the parasites of the fresh food, but he was able to make it out of Indonesia, going north. Look at the direction here. Not going north. Going north is going to take him to India. He was not able to cross, but he was stuck back to, because if he kept going this way, he would be stuck in the Red Sea, the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. The only option he has to do, he knew very good about the circles, the latitude 45 and the south. So he was able to go back south around the Cape of Hope, or the Horn of Hope of South Africa, and return back, circumventing the globe, returning back on the west coast of Africa, or the Atlantic Ocean, returning back all the way to Plymouth, New England. We are now doing it on the map. The flat map is going to tell you a lot, because you don't see the curvature of the globe. That was the first trip when he had to go to Tahiti. And the second trip was more disastrous, and he should have never started it, because it was just stupid. To go back to find out the Terras Australis Incognito, it is the stupidest idea, but he needed the money, and I don't think he can stay in bed with his wife. That man was just a crazy maniac who got addicted to being on a ship. A lot of discoverers have this problem. He cannot stay home, so he left for the second time Plymouth, England, when he now knew his way out. They wanted him to discover the secret, or the missing continent, the Terras Australis Incognito, which he proved it does not exist. So he kept bouncing back between latitude 40, 60. He cannot get south beyond 67, because every time he goes closer to the pole, he hits snow, icebergs, frozen water. The sails of his ship were freezing. So 60 latitude south was all he can go. I kept going around, nothing called Terras Australis Incognito. It does not exist. So he came back after another 3 years. So he knew now how to circumvent the globe. The third time was more disastrous than the second time. He left England. He went back in the same direction to discover the north route around Canada. So he was able to discover Hawaii, or he claimed to be the first one to discover Hawaii, and he used Hawaii as a resting place to repair his ship. All his goal was to get from the north to Alaska, to pass from Alaska, going back to the Atlantic Ocean through a North Passage. The North Passage has failed before. Everybody failed before. Before, when they tried to come from the west side, going on the east side of the continent of the New World, they were able to go to the Hudson Bay. From Hudson Bay, there is no way out, because everything here was frozen. The north axis between the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean does not exist. At that time, you need all the snow to melt in order to be able to cross between the Atlantic and the Pacific. Yes, they discovered Greenland, but Greenland will not tell them a lot. After you get from Greenland, there is no way you can navigate your way coming back to the East Indies or Asia or India, Philippines or anywhere using the north axis. So the northern sea between the Atlantic and the Pacific, he proved it doesn't exist. But the problem, he got already old, and he lost his temper, and most probably he went to crazy, so he got killed in Hawaii. Why did other people discover the wrong places? Every time somebody tried to find a route from the Atlantic to Pacific, gets stuck somewhere and never completed. One of them got stuck in the Hudson Bay. One of them got stuck around the Mississippi, discovered the Mississippi but cannot. So he already got to the New World, got to the Michigan Lake. I think he got to the Michigan Lake using or St. Lawrence River and the Great Lakes. That's Michigan Lake. From Michigan Lake, he was able to go to the Mississippi. Then he found himself back in the Atlantic Ocean. He got to New Orleans. He find himself back to the Atlantic Ocean. He thought he can get from the Michigan Lake, he can cross to find his way out to the Pacific Ocean. That didn't work. Lewis and Clark did better job. Lewis and Clark tried to figure out how to get to the Missouri River. I think that is the Missouri River. And they tried to find out if they can navigate from the Missouri River to the Columbia River. The Columbia River going to Portland. But they got stuck over the Great Falls, and they made a long round trip with the Missouri through the Yellowstone National Park.
The moon is going up faster than Venus. How do you measure the angle? The angle, you measure it with what's called the artificial horizon, or a mirror, the surface of water. From the angle of reflection, you can get the angle of the moon. The moon now is higher in the sky. As you see, it's even smaller than before. Look at Venus has another magnificent look now. Closer to the horizon, and it's going to disappear in about 3 or 4 hours. The other stars are also getting brighter and brighter. You can look at the sky is filled with nice colors, but there is no doubt that Venus is one of the brightest planets after the moon. Can you measure the distance of the moon from 2 readings? Yeah, from 2 distances. If you measure 2 people at the same time, let's say 100 miles apart, measuring the angles of the moon, from 2 readings you can get the distance between the moon and the earth. Of course, you need the velocity at every point, and you need the distance at every point, so you have 2 unknowns. And 2 equations. Because the velocity will be the time multiplied by the radius, multiplied by the 2r. The velocity. The velocity, you can get the mass of the moon. So you can really get the mass of the moon, the distance of the moon between the moon and the earth, from just sitting above the earth and doing some calculations, some calculus. We are in Arizona. Arizona, everything in the sky is very bright. This is not Venus, that is a star. I think that's Mars. That is Mars. or the red planet. But Venus is magnificent. 3 hours later, here is the moon almost vertical, or you can say 80 degrees above me from the ground. And if you look at the horizon, Venus disappeared with the sun, but you have Mars is right here. Very beautiful red planet. So you get another triangle, the triangle of Mars, yourself, and the moon. So what angles are we talking about? You have to have a compass, because you need the angle from the horizontal to the vertical, and you need another angle from the east-west to the south-north. You need the two angles to get the polar coordinates. The polar angle and the azimuthal angle. From these two angles, you have a lot of options to determine your latitude and longitude. I can tell now that Mars is somewhere south to me, and the moon is almost northeast. Mars is southeast. Well, which way did Venus disappear? It's too late now to catch it, because it is very close to the sun. We are in Arizona. We are at the exact longitude of Great Falls Mountain. That is where Lewis and Clark tried to find how to get from the Missouri to Columbia River. If you look how they determined the longitude and the latitude, that is Venus right here. We can measure every hour the angle by having an artificial horizon device. You can design it with a cup of water and a white paper or a white surface, a reflector under the water. You can measure the angle of Venus by the hour or by the minute. That will give you a very good idea on your direction to the orthogonal longitudes and latitudes. The problem here, when you are at the highland or the Rockies, the moon is hiding behind these mountains. If I wait here for an hour or so, the moon will come up very soon. That is the problem that Lewis and Clark faced when they got from Montana. When they started coming very close to Yellowstone National Park, the high mountains made it very hard for them to determine the latitude, and you have to exert some effort. You do have very nice, look at the skies. You have a very nice, I think that is Mars, that is the red planet. But Venus is very clear, and you can measure the angle easily. All you need is a water scale, so you can determine the horizontal, a very flat surface, and you need a compass to know the north and south and the east and west. From the angle of Venus with your location and the angle of the moon, you can do some calculation and determine your latitude and the longitude by degrees, minutes, and seconds. Assuming that you will have clear skies. Those are in the days before the invention of the chronometer or the GPS. The GPS will work exactly on the same principle, that you need at least 3 satellites. Each satellite will send you a signal, 2 triangles. You can determine your location in the 3-dimensional globe.
Coming back from Portland, they found a short route over the mountain. Why does everybody at that time, Magellan, Christopher Columbus, all the great discoveries depended entirely on how to find the latitude and the longitude? If you don't know where is your latitude and longitude, you will not know the difference between Hawaii, New Guinea, New Zealand, all these places cannot be identified unless you have the longitude and latitude.